Right, well, good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m., so we will go ahead and get started as some more people, I'm sure, will be filtering in along the way. But welcome. Happy May the 4th, and welcome to PPA 660 Organization Theory. Seems like it's been a long time since we have been together, and I guess it has been a very long time since we've been together, but my goal is not to keep you here very long today. I want to give you back as much of your Saturday as I possibly can. So, as you know, what we'll be doing today is just going over the course syllabus, talking about some of the expectations for the course assignments, just kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page with what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks, because this then will be the final core course you'll have before you then move into your 697 case studies. And so this class will wrap up on June 22nd, and then the following week you will then start working on your case studies for your two sections of 697. And we'll talk more about 697 and how 697 will work as we get farther along in this class. So when we get to the last couple of weeks of this class, we'll spend some time talking about 697 because 697 is an unusual type of course in that you will not have Monday evening sessions for 697. It'll all just be independent work on those 5 case studies. And so we'll talk a little bit more about it later on. But in 697, the way in which it'll work is you've got those two sections of 697. The first section will be predominantly Dr. Butts, who will be running that section. So he will set up like the Canvas site for his section of 697, and then he'll provide the cases on his site. And then you'll just, whenever you finish your cases, you'll be submitting them to his 697 section, but he's primarily in charge of the first section, and then I will take over for the second section of 697. He will grade policy analysis and research methods cases. I will grade the budgeting, HR, and organization theory cases. And so we kind of divide up the labor when it comes to 697. But we'll talk about that later on in this course. So today, I think we'll probably be able to be done within an hour, hour and a half today. We'll hold off on covering any substantive information until we get together again on Monday evening. Again, let you get out of here early today, and then maybe even go and enjoy the volleyball game, because as some of you may know, Long Beach State men's volleyball team is in the national championship game today against UCLA at 2 o'clock. So if you're not doing anything else at 2 o'clock, feel free to tune into ESPN, and hopefully we'll see the Long Beach State bring another national championship back to Long Beach. They're going for, I think it's their third or fourth overall national championship. So we'll be done long before then. So I've shared out the syllabus with you. I think that was sent out to you by Geraldine. The Canvas site has been open now for a few weeks, so hopefully you've had a chance to poke around on the Canvas site. You've had a chance to take a look at the syllabus. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through every single line and every word on the syllabus, but I do think it's important just for us to all have a basic understanding of the purpose of this course, the types of assignments we're going to be doing, how those assignments are going to be evaluated, the types of topics that we'll be covering over the next 6 weeks. So you know me by now, and so you also know that the easiest way and the best way to contact me will be certainly through email. So if you have any questions or any concerns or anything at all, feel free to contact me via email, and that's always the best way to contact me. Everything else is kind of similar to what we had in our class before. We do have this kind of unusual situation that one of our Monday sessions will be on Memorial Day. And so our schedule will be Monday sessions beginning this coming Monday on May the 6th, and we'll have a session on May 6th, May 13th, May 20th. Then we'll take May 27th off for Memorial Day because obviously the university is closed that day. Then we'll get back into it on June 3rd, June 10th, June 17th, and then have our final Saturday session scheduled for June 22nd if needed. Typically in this class, we usually do need that last Saturday session because that last Saturday session, we still have some presentations that we have to finish up. And then I also like to spend a little bit of time on that June 22nd session, kind of getting you ready then for your case studies for 697. So I think there's a very high likelihood that we will be meeting on June 22nd as well. So let me just run through the syllabus, and then if you have any questions as we're working our way through the syllabus, as always, you can use text chat. I've got my text chat box open. I'll be monitoring it. You can use your microphone however you feel comfortable participating, but feel free if you have any questions to go ahead and ask those questions as we proceed through our discussion of the syllabus. So this is what we consider to be a core course in the MPA program. And this is an organization theory course. This course is heavy, obviously, on theories. Some of the theories we're going to cover in this course, we covered in the 500 class. So the Max Webers and the Frederick Taylors and the Luther Gulligs, we covered those kind of superficially in 500, just kind of showing you the evolution of organization theory. I think we did that maybe an hour or an hour and a half. Obviously, in this class, we're going to drill down much deeper into each one of those theories. So we will run the gamut through the entire evolution of the organization theory literature. We'll look at classic organization theory, principles of organization, human relations, human resource management, leadership theory, systems theory. We'll basically go through that entire evolution, but really to get into some more detail in each one of those theories and each of those schools of thought. The primary purpose of the course is not only to introduce you or reintroduce you to these theories and these theorists, but it's also that we can find this nexus between theory and practice. And I know I told you earlier on when you first start the program that one of the primary goals of an MPA program is to be both scholarly as well as practical, so that we can take the theories from the academic world and then find ways to apply those in real world practicality for our organizations. This course is kind of the microcosm of that, because what we'll do is throughout the course, you'll be taking all these schools of thought and all these theories and applying them then to either your organization or an organization that you are interested in. Now, most people in this course will apply the theories to their own organizations that they are currently working in. However, if you are not comfortable talking about your organization in discussion board, you don't have to use your organization. You can select another organization that you're familiar with. So I don't want you to feel like you have to talk about your organization if you're uncomfortable talking about your organization. So I'm going to leave that completely up to you. But the vast majority of folks tend to talk about their organizations and show examples of how these theories manifest themselves within their organizations. And that's this whole nexus between theory and practice. So throughout the class, you'll be summarizing and synthesizing primary organization theories. You'll demonstrate the ability to apply these theories to organizations, and you'll also then be preparing a coherent organizational analysis. And we'll talk about that organizational analysis a little bit later on. But that organizational analysis that you're going to create, that will be your post-instructional assignment for this course. So that's one of the assignments that will go into part 2 of your student learning portfolio next spring when you are getting ready to graduate. And I know it sounds far away, but it really is very much right around the corner. So these things roll around quickly in a 2-year program. So the textbooks that we are going to be using in this class, the primary textbook is the one by Jonathan Tompkins, Organization Theory and Public Management. This is I think a great textbook. I don't know if I can get in front of my camera. I probably can't, but it's a great textbook. It's one that I've used for a while in organization theory. I think it's the best textbook for an organization theory course such as this. One of the problems with the textbook is that Jonathan Tompkins retired a few years ago. And so the original textbook, when he retired, then went out of print. And it started to become very hard to get a hold of. So along with a co-author of mine at Cal Baptist, who also used the book, we reached out to the publisher, who then reached out to the author, and eventually, with the help of the author's wife, convinced him to go ahead and approve a republication of the textbook. And so The republished textbook, the reprinted textbook came out last summer. I think it was summer of 2023. So now that it has been reprinted, hopefully the textbook will then be in circulation for, I hope, another 10 years or so. I really like this textbook a lot because of the way it incorporates and really connects all the theories together. One of the challenges we have in a theory-based course is a lot of theory-based courses will just present theory after theory after theory. And so you then learn all these theories, but you really don't have a way to connect them together and to really find that connective tissue that connects all of these theories and all of these schools of thought. The Tompkins textbook does a really nice job of that. And we'll go through how Tompkins does it more in depth in our Monday night session. But essentially, what he does is once he's done talking about a theory or a school of thought, he will then show you how that school of thought relates to three different things. The first thing that he will use is what he calls models of organizational effectiveness. So he'll ask the question, how does this theory measure and define effectiveness for an organization? Because at the end of the day, that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to study organizations to hopefully make them more effective at accomplishing whatever goals they are trying to accomplish. So for each one of these theories, we'll then say, well, which of these four different models of organizational effectiveness does this theory reflect? So that's a really nice way that you can then combine the theories together, because you'll see some theories will reflect a goal attainment, rational goal type of model of effectiveness, where we define organizational effectiveness by the achievement of goals. Some models will be more of what we refer to as a systems resource or an open systems type of model, where it will define effectiveness according to the ability of the organization to collect and generate resources from its environment. So in that type of a model, the effectiveness of the organization will be measured by how well has an organization enhanced its appropriations? How well has an organization leveraged a labor pool in order to bring in new talents, new people into the organization? And so we'll see how each of these theories relate to those four different models of organizational effectiveness. Then another connective tissue, if you will, that he uses to kind of compare the theories to each other is what he calls the Mintzberg mechanisms for control and coordinating work. So ask the question for each one of these theories, which mechanism of control is being emphasized by this specific theory? And so, it could be we emphasize control through standardization. So we standardize structures, or we standardize work processes, or we standardize worker skills. So that's a second way in which he'll compare the different theories to each other. Then the third way in which we compare the theories is through the methods of motivating employees. So we're asked the question for this theory, what are some of the motivational methods that are used in this theory? Are people being motivated through legal compliance, in that they know that they have to do something and accomplish a certain level of productivity and performance, or else they are going to, lose some perk of the office? They're going to get demoted, or they're going to get a low performance evaluation, or so are we motivating people through you have to abide by these legal rules and regulations? Or are we motivating people instead by kind of appealing to their higher motives, and we're motivating them because of their desire for growth and what Abraham Maslow would call self-actualization? But we'll get into more of that on Monday. But I like that there's this connective tissue that Tompkins provides, so that we can compare the different models and the different theories and schools of thought to each other. It kind of gives us more of a rhyme and reason for why we are studying these theories. And so that's why I still use this Tompkins textbook. Hopefully it's available for out there for you, not just at the bookstore, but also floating around online. If you're really struggling to try and find the textbook, I know it's available directly through the publisher's website, Waveland Press. And I know you can purchase it directly through them, but hopefully it's a lot more available now than it was before we were able to get it reprinted. And then the other textbook we're going to be using is the Classics of Organization Theory text by Shafritz et al. This is an opportunity for you to actually read some of the original works by these organization theorists. So instead of you just listening to me talk about, well, this is what this theorist said and this is what this theorist meant, you can actually read the works yourself and then develop your own opinions, your own perspectives. I think that's very important that you have your own direct exposure to a lot of these theories and these theorists. Now, one of the complicating factors with the version of the textbook that is listed on the syllabus is that in that edition of the textbook, some of the readings that I really like a lot were then excluded from that version of the textbook. So I went back through the syllabus and I made some changes to the syllabus to ensure that the classic articles that are listed in the syllabus are also then reflected in this version of the Shafritz textbook. We're not going to read every single article in the Shafritz textbook. We're probably going to read about 50% of them. I don't want to inundate you with too much reading. I think you've got a lot of other things going on in terms of work and personal life, and this is a 6-week course. So I don't want to overwhelm you with readings, but I've selected readings from the Shafritz textbook that I think are germane to what the topics are that we're going to cover in this class. There are a couple of readings, the Mary Parker Follett and the Chester Barnard readings that have been excluded from this version of the textbook. So what I have done is on our Canvas side, I have included some files on there to kind of give you the basic understanding and the basic gist, if you will, of the Follett and the Barnard articles that no longer appear in the classics textbook. But all the other articles that are assigned in the syllabus, they should then be in that version of the Shafritz text. But it just gives you that opportunity to then read those articles yourself, inform your own opinions and perspectives on those articles. So when you go through our syllabus, when you see any readings that have a T next to them, that means they're from the main textbook, the Tompkins textbook. If you see readings with a C next to them, it means they're from the classics textbook from the Shafritz text. So those are the readings that we are going to be doing throughout the course. Again, trying to limit them so that they're much more manageable than they otherwise would be. Because again, we just really do only have 6 weeks together. In terms of the types of things that you'll be doing in this course, the evaluative criteria, just like I believe with all of your other courses in the program, you'll have Canvas postings that you'll be responsible for doing. Each of those Canvas postings will require you to apply topics and theories covered in the class and the textbooks to specific organizations. Again, most people use their organizations because they know their organization's the best. If you're not comfortable using your organization, you can use another organization that you are familiar with. As always, these Canvas essays should be very parsimonious. Make them as concise as you can make them. Say what you need to say in the fewest words possible. I just put a little guideline there in terms of number of words, but you don't have to adhere to that. If you need to write more than that, write more than that. I'm not going to stop reading at 300 words, but I just kind of want to give you a little guidance for making them as parsimonious as you can possibly make them. So the purpose of each one of these Canvas posts is to allow you to think through and develop your organizational analysis paper. So hopefully what you're writing in discussion board will then help you develop that relevant section of the organizational analysis paper. For this course, we are going to be using those 5 Canvas postings as your pre-instructional assignment. So for this course, the pre-instructional assignment will be those 5 Canvas postings. So that means it's very important for you to keep copies of what you are posting in discussion board. Because once we get to spring 2025 and you're putting your portfolio together, in part 2 of that portfolio, you're going to need to include the pre and post instructional assignments from 555, 577, this course, 670, and 696. So if you get to spring 2025 and you haven't kept the discussion board posts for this course, that's going to be a problem because you're not going to have access to this course online anymore. And so it's going to be very difficult to go back and get those discussion board posts. So I hate to keep belaboring this point, but please, it's very important that you keep a copy of your discussion posts someplace safe so that you can retrieve them in spring 2025 when you are putting your student learning portfolio together. So please, please, please do that, because they will be the pre-instructional assignment for this course. I have due dates then for the Canvas essays. They're usually due on Monday before class starts, and so I'll show you the actual due dates in just a second. In addition to your initial posting in discussion board, you'll then also be responding to 2 of your classmates. Those responses to classmates can actually be shorter than your initial post. So we're looking at, certainly a paragraph. No more than a paragraph is necessary to respond to classmates. The way in which I will grade it is 10 points for your initial post and then 5 points for each of your responses to your classmates. Esmeralda, go ahead.
Good morning, Professor. I just had a question about the Canvas discussion post. So you mentioned that they're due Monday before class. Does that include our initial post and the 2 responses?
Yeah, it does. But I'm glad you mentioned that because, my advice is if you can get your initial post done well before then, earlier in the week, then people have something to respond to. So, if everyone waits to do their initial response until that following Monday, then everyone's going to be racing on Monday to try and get responses done to classmates. So if you can get your initial post done earlier, then at least people have something to respond to. So I'm glad you asked them.
Okay, thank
Um,
you.
sure. My pleasure. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Professor. You mentioned that these class postings would be a part of our portfolio. Will the actual responses to other classmates also be included in that? Do you want us to save that, or is that not part of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, all I need is just your initial responses. So don't worry about responses to classmates, just your initial post for each of those 5 Canvas essay prompts. That's what you'll be needing to include in part 2 of the portfolio.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that's an excellent question. So kind of my policy on these Canvas essays, do make sure to proofread them, make sure that you post them directly into the form. Don't just, attach a link, because if you attach a link, then oftentimes your colleagues are not going to go back and review those links. So I will, but your colleagues may not have time to go and review all the links. But if you just post directly into the forum, then you're much more likely to have more eyeballs on your posts and much more likely to get a response from a classmate. Usually these Canvas essays, they do contribute, I know, somewhat to grade inflation, because if they're well written and they're on point and your responses to classmates are professional and collegial, as they always are, it's essentially, for the most part, going to be full credit. The only way you really kind of lose credit on those Canvas essays is if they're not well written, they're not proofread, or if you neglect to respond to 2 classmates, then that's when points may be deducted. But otherwise, if you're doing a good job with your posts and responding to 2 classmates, it typically ends up being full credit. I will read all those posts, and I will then, as I give you your grades in the feedback box, I'll then provide you some feedback on each one of those posts. And so I try and give you feedback on everything. So even if you get 100%, you get 20 out of 20 on your Canvas essay for that week, I'll still give you a little bit of feedback, because I think that's always important. So those will constitute the pre-instructional assignment for this course. Then your post-instructional assignment obviously will be this organizational analysis paper, where you take the theories and the schools of thought that we discuss in class and are discussed in the readings, and then you apply them directly to an organization, showing examples of how these theories manifest themselves within the organization. So the organizational analysis paper, it will consist of the following. Obviously, you'll have a title page. You need to have a title page on all your formal assignments for the program. So you'll have a title page. Then on the next page, you'll have your executive summary, your abstract. executive summary abstract, you've written those before in the program, so you know they're very succinct, they're very short. I'm going to grade that part of it as credit, no credit. So you get credit if you got your executive summary. If you don't have your executive summary, then I'll certainly note that. But just a one paragraph executive summary or abstract, kind of an overview of what you're doing then in the organizational analysis paper. Then the first part of the paper that will be graded is the introduction and background of the organization. So this is where you're going to tell me about the organization, teach me about the organization. You obviously know the organization much better than I do, so you're going to be educating me on the organization. That's worth 10 points because obviously that's something relatively straightforward and not a whole lot of theories being applied there. Then the next part of the paper will be the illustrative management practices of the organization, primarily chapter 3 in Tompkins. These three different things that he uses in order to combine the theories together: models of organizational effectiveness, methods for coordination and control, and methods for motivating employees. And that's what we mean by these illustrative management practices in the organization. That's worth 20 points. Elements of classic organization theory in the organization, worth 20 points. Then a section on elements of human relations theory in the organization, also worth 20 points. Discussion of systems theory in the organization, worth 20 points. And then a final section on the impact of the organization on excellence. How does the organization measure excellence? How does it know if excellence is being achieved? Essentially, chapter 14 in the Tompkins textbook, and that section of the paper is then worth 10 points. If you are using outside resources, so you're using resources, which you don't necessarily have to, but if there are resources that could help you justify some of the arguments that you are making in the paper, as always, then provide a reference page and make sure your citations are in APA 7th edition. Hopefully you've been using APA in your time throughout the DLMPA program, so you're familiar with APA formatting. I am not going to be a big stickler on APA for this paper, so if it kind of, as I say, look, feels, and tastes like APA, it's close enough to APA for me. And I may just put a little notation in there, such as if you don't italicize a journal title, I may say, remember to italicize the journal titles, but I won't necessarily deduct points for it. It's more just kind of an ongoing learning process in terms of using APA formatting. But again, the types of resources, the amount of resources you use beyond the textbook and beyond the readings and the classics text, that's going to be up to you, and it's going to be up to the organization that you are writing about. You don't have to cite things that I say in class. Don't worry about that. I'm considering anything that I say in class to be just kind of be open access, if you will. And so you don't have to worry about citing that. But if you're using information specifically from the Tompkins textbook, you should provide citation for that. If you're using one of the articles from the classics textbook, provide a citation for that as well. And you know, in APA, we do the parenthetical in-text citations. And so it could be, you know, Tompkins, comma, 2013 in parentheses as a way in which you can do the in-text citation for that type of a source. And in fact, since we are talking about the organizational analysis paper, let me shoot down here to the bottom of the syllabus. Let me move some things around so I can do this a little bit quicker. All right, let me go down to the bottom here, and you will see that I've got some more details where I really flesh out some of the details of what I'm looking for in each one of these sections of the organizational analysis paper. So as I said, the executive summary is a one paragraph synopsis of what you're doing in the paper. What are you studying? How are you doing it? Will appear on a separate page following your title page. Usually it's relatively short. I know APA has standards in terms of the length of the executive summary or the abstract. I'm not going to be all that concerned about adhering to those length requirements. Usually 100, 200 words is usually pretty typical for an abstract or an executive summary. Summary will be evaluated upon basically, did you do it or not? You know, is it there or is it not there? It's more or less of a credit, no credit type of an approach. Then the introduction and background of the organization. This, as I said, is worth 10 points. This section will provide the reader with brief background information about the organization. How large is the organization? What are the major functions of the organization? What does the hierarchy of the organization look like? Again, it'd be useful to focus on a unit or department rather than the organization as a whole if you are looking at a large organization. So this is going to depend upon the size of the organization that you are looking at. So if you've got an organization that has thousands of employees, you might want to look at a unit or a division or a department and use that as the focus for the organizational analysis paper. If it's not that large of an organization, then you're certainly welcome to look at the organization as a whole. Evaluation of this section will be based on the accuracy and the clarity of your description. Now, again, you're more of an expert on the organization than I am. So look at this part of the paper as your ability to educate me about the organization and to provide me with the basic information about the organization that I would need to then grade the organizational analysis paper. So you're teaching me in this section. Then the next section, the illustrative management practices of the organization, worth 20 points. This section will identify which models of organizational effectiveness best reflect the approach of the organization. We'll discuss the mechanisms for coordination and control that are most commonly used in the organization, as well as how the organization usually motivates its employees. Be sure to use examples. It's very important that you give me examples of these three different things in this section of the paper. Valuation will be based upon proper use of the concepts from the textbook and the quality of your justification. Then the classic organization theory section. In this section, paper will discuss some of the ways in which classic organization theorists, the Weberian bureaucratic structure model, the scientific management approach of Frederick Taylor, principal schools approach of people like Henri Fayol or people like Luther Gulick, how those types of theories manifest themselves within the organization. Again, it'll be evaluated based upon appropriateness and strength of the argument, and as always, use examples. Then, oops, went too far here, neoclassical theories. So in the neoclassical theories, we're looking primarily at things like human relations theory and human resource management theory. And we will distinguish between those two, kind of like you did in 500. Again, give me examples of human relations theory and human resource management theory at play within the organization. Then the next section of the paper is on systems theory. Identify and discuss which type of system your organization best reflects. Is it an open system? Is it a closed system? And then provide examples to justify what type of system the organization operates within. And then in the next part of the paper, the impact of the organization on excellence. Discuss how the organization attempts to achieve excellence in its operations. What organizational characteristics contribute to excellence? Which characteristics may inhibit excellence? More basically, how does the organization know if excellence has been achieved? So how does it identify? How does it measure excellence? So as I said, it should be a well-written paper, should adhere to APA style with in-text citations where necessary, should be devoid of typographical and grammatical errors. So do make sure that you proofread the paper, make sure it's a scholarly graduate level paper and it looks like a final draft as opposed to a first draft because I will grade based upon the quality of writing. So I think there's probably enough details about the organizational analysis paper, but it is important to talk about because it is that post-instructional assignment that we will be using for this course. Okay. As you are thinking through the organizational analysis paper, again, hopefully the discussion board posts that you'll be doing, these Canvas essays, will help you think through these issues and will then help you kind of construct the paper. It's, what we like to call a scaffolding approach. And so each one of those Canvas essays should hopefully help you build another part of your organizational analysis paper. That organizational analysis paper, as always, with everything else in this program, should be parsimonious. Typically, organizational analysis papers are less than 15 pages in length, but that's not a hard and fast requirement. If you need to go beyond 15 pages, you can certainly do that. I will not stop reading at 15 pages. If you can get it done in much shorter time than that, that's fine as well. It's just usually people ask how long should these things be? And so just want to kind of give you a guideline of how long they have been in the past when I've used this type of assignment in this course. Then you have a final assessment, which is not an exam, so you don't have to worry about that. It's not a timed exam or anything like that. What it is a very brief, cursory organizational analysis of California State University, Long Beach. So what you'll be doing is using information that you have learned about the university during your time in the program, and you've been in the program now for going on almost a year and a half. So you probably have a pretty good idea of the organization, some obstacles and administrative hurdles you've had to jump over. So you probably have a kind of a good sense of the university as an organization. You can also glean information from organizational websites, university websites as well. But for this final assessment, you're going to do a mini organizational analysis where you'll be talking about some examples of the classical school of thought in as they were evident at Cal State Long Beach, some elements of neoclassical schools of thought like human relations and human resource management that you see here at Cal State Long Beach, and then a brief discussion of what type of system you think Cal State Long Beach operates within, a closed system or an open system. So that's what's going to constitute our final assessment. I'm putting a couple little, I might put a couple little changes into it as we go through the class, but I will make this final assessment available to you probably at least a month before the end of the class. So probably within a couple of weeks, I'll go ahead and republish it to our Canvas site. And then you can work at it at your leisure, as long as it's done by June 22nd. Then you have this presentation requirement. I'm sorry, Esmeralda, go ahead.
Yes, I just had a question for the final exam. Is it just like a mini version of the organization analysis paper?
It basically is, yeah, just focusing on Cal State Long Beach.
Okay, and usually how long are those?
Oh, those are much shorter than the organizational analysis. Usually maybe 7 pages, if that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sure. And it does introduce an interesting question. If any of you, work at the university, you may be asking the question, how do I do this? Because my organizational analysis paper looks at the unit, that's my organization. I'm focusing on for the organizational analysis paper. So what you might want to do is for the organizational analysis paper, focus on your unit or your department or your division, make that the focus of the organizational analysis paper, and then the final assessment will look at the university as a whole. And so that's a good way to kind of work it if you actually are employed at the university. Then everyone will be doing a presentation of their organizational analysis paper. As you know, and I've talked to you about this when you entered the program, we are a NASPA accredited program, which means that we have certain standards that NASPA holds us accountable to. And we have 5 of those 5 universal required competencies that everyone must learn when they go through a NASPA accredited program. The ability to lead and manage, the ability to participate and contribute to the policy process, the ability to analyze, synthesize, think critically, solve problems, and make decisions, the ability to articulate a public sector perspective. And then the 5th competency is the ability to communicate and interact productively with society and with workforce. And I'm paraphrasing it, and so the 5th one is communication skills. And so what we try and do in some of our courses in the program is incorporate the opportunity to communicate and demonstrate the ability to communicate effectively with a diverse workforce and citizenry. And so that's why we have the presentation requirement here in this course. So everyone will do a presentation of their organizational analysis in our one of our Zoom sessions. You can use whatever slides you like to use. I always use PowerPoint because I'm an old guy, and so I'm kind of traditional with that. But you can use other approaches if you'd like, if you're more comfortable with some other types of presentation software. But you'll put a presentation together, and then you'll deliver that presentation in one of our sessions. The presentations are usually relatively short, so they're 10, 15 minutes. I'm not going to cut you off if you go beyond 10 or 15 minutes, but just as a rule of thumb, they're usually pretty short. And in the presentation, what you're doing is you're going to take us through your organizational analysis. And so you're going to tell us, here's the organization, here are some basic facts about the organization, here are the elements of classic organization theory. Here are the elements of neoclassical theory, human relations, human resource management. Here are the elements of systems theory, and kind of taking us through those elements of your organizational analysis paper. So what I've also done, I think I have, double check our Canvas site, but I have put a resource at the bottom of the modules on our Canvas site. There's a resource on engaging audiences. And so you can always take a look at that. If you're not comfortable doing presentations, it gives you some tips and some tricks in terms of how to engage an audience when you are giving a presentation. And the whole purpose of this is, again, just to give you some more practice at communicating with a diverse workforce and citizenry. So that's what we use then for showing evidence of that fifth universal required competency. Typically, people tend to do very well in these presentations. I know many of you have done presentations before in your workplace. Some of your previous courses may have required presentations as well. We're going to devote our entire final Zoom session to presentations, and then all those presentations we don't get done in that final Zoom session, we will then finish up those at our final Saturday session. So kind of just recap the types of assignments you're going to be doing. You have 5 Canvas essays, each one 20 points for 100 points total, 100 points for your organizational analysis paper, 100 points for your presentation, and 100 points for the final assessment. I don't know why I still have exam on there. It's not an exam, but it's a final assessment. To circle back to this presentation again, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is I'm going to be looking for your ability to kind of engage your audience. And so as you're doing your presentation, if you want to incorporate some questions in that presentation or some ways in which you can engage your audience a little bit, that probably would be useful because, again, it is important that it's not just you just talking for 15 minutes about your organization, but that people are actually engaged in what you are saying. You know the grading scale. You've been in the program long enough to know we don't have pluses or minuses, much to my chagrin as a faculty member, but that's the way in which it is. And so it's just kind of that 90, 80, 70, 60 split. You also know that I have my 1% flexibility, unofficial flexibility rule, so that if you turn everything in on time and you participate in the class, if you come in 1% away from a higher grade, I will then give you the boost up to that higher grade. And to be quite honest, grades in this course tend to be pretty high. I think that when people don't get A's in this class, it tends to be because assignments weren't done or assignments were turned in late or something like that. So usually people tend to do relatively well. I don't care really about grading curves or anything like that. If everyone in the class does great work and gets an A, I will sleep well at night as well. So that's not something I get too hung up on. So our outline for our class sessions today, obviously a brief session. We're just going over what we're doing now, the syllabus and the requirements for the class. So we'll be out of here, I'm sure, by 10:30 at the latest, probably even a little bit earlier than that. Then on Monday night, we'll start up as normal at 6 o'clock. And this will get into some of our substantive information. In this class, I really do like to do that lecture lab type of an approach, where in the first half of the session, we will cover information for that evening and cover the topic and the authors we have scheduled for that evening. Then we'll take a break. And in the second half of class, we'll do breakout groups. And then we'll take that information we covered in the first half of class and we'll then apply it to our organizations. I think that's helpful for everyone. No one wants to sit there and listen to me talk for 3 hours. Sometimes in the 500 class, that's what happens because there's a lot of information to cover to get you started in the program. Now you're far enough in the program that we don't have to do that anymore. And so now we can kind of use this lecture lab type of an approach. So on Monday, we'll do our introductory information, essentially a lot of the information from chapters 1 through 3 in the Tompkins textbook. We'll do an introduction to organization theory. We'll talk about what organization theory is and what we study in organization theory. We'll talk about the differences between public and private organizations as they relate to how we study them. I know in 500, we spent a lot of time talking about differences between public and private organizations. We went through the Graham Allison article of how public and private organizations are similar in all unimportant respects. But on Monday, what we'll do is we'll look at those differences and what they mean then for how we develop theories and how we study those organizations. Then I will walk you through the models for organizational effectiveness, the methods for coordination and control, and the methods for motivating employees, what all those methods are, and then we'll talk about how we're going to use those to then compare our theories and our schools of thought in later class sessions. So we'll do that information in the first half of class, and I have a breakout group assignment that we can do then in the second half of class. Following Monday on the 13th, we'll get into classic organization theory. And again, these are people you've been introduced to before. We are just going to dive deeper into their theories. People like Max Weber, Frederick Taylor, and Luther Gulick. So we're going to talk about Weber's ideal bureaucracy, Taylor's scientific management, and then the principal school. And so when we talk about the principal school, we'll not just talk about Gulick, we'll also talk about Fail and Mooney as well. And so classic organization theory will be on the 13th, first half of class, talking about these theories, second half of class, then applying them to our organizations. May 20th, we'll do neoclassical theories, which primarily means human relations and human resource management schools of thought. And you see the relevant chapters from Tompkins there, and then the relevant readings from the classics textbook as well. And again, these are people that we talked about in 500. We're just going to delve deeper into them here in 660. Then the 27th is Memorial Day, so we will take that week off, and then we're back at it on June the 3rd, doing systems theory, natural or closed versus open systems, chapters 9 through 11 in Tompkins, and then the Katz and Kahn article in the classics textbook. On the 10th, we will then do some more modern theories, group dynamics, leadership, quality management, organization culture. And then if we have time that is still available to us in the second half of class, it would be nice if we could start some presentations on the 10th to get some presentations taken care of, to then clear the decks for the 17th, where we'll spend our entire time doing presentations. And then on our last Saturday session, we'll wrap up any presentations we still need to do. And then I'll spend the rest of the time on the 22nd introducing you to PPA 697 and talking about how the process will work. I'll show you the 5 cases that you'll be working on, and just kind of give you a primer into what you'll then be doing in the 2 sections of 697, which will then take you throughout the remainder of the summer. Your final assessment is due on the 22nd, along with your organizational analysis paper. Here are the deadlines that I have just kind of for your one-stop shopping there. So your Canvas essays and responses must be done. The first one by May 13th, second one by May 20th, third one by June 3rd, fourth one by June 10th, and the fifth one by June 17th. Presentations will occur primarily on the 17th and the 22nd, but I will be later on taking a few volunteers to get us started on the 10th so that we can make sure we have time to get through all the presentations. Organizational analysis paper due then on the 22nd, and final assessment due on the 22nd as well. Obviously, just like my other class that you had with me, the due dates are by midnight. And so each of those dates, the due date is by the end of that day by midnight, 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. I'll let you read through academic dishonesty. Hopefully we don't have to think about any of those things. I'm sure we won't. One other addition to the syllabus that I'd like to talk about is the idea of artificial intelligence. This is really obviously a big issue in higher education. And some of your previous courses, your instructors may have mentioned artificial intelligence. And what the university is allowing faculty members to do is to develop their own policy and approaches toward the use of AI. Some instructors do not allow the use of AI whatsoever, and they consider that to be academic dishonesty. I am a little bit more permissive with the use of AI because I really do think that AI is the future of just about everything. And public administration is really going to leverage itself very heavily on the use of artificial intelligence in the future. So the more comfortable we get with it and the sooner we get comfortable with it, I think the better for all of us. So for my approach in my courses, it is allowable to use, Chat GPT or artificial intelligence for the purpose of brainstorming. You obviously cannot use it to write your organizational analysis paper. You cannot use it to write your Canvas essays or responses to classmates. That would be obviously academic dishonesty. However, if you want to use it to brainstorm ideas and to kind of jumpstart your thinking about a topic, I think it's completely permissible to use AI for those limit types of purposes. There are a lot of somewhat decent mechanisms online to allow instructors to identify whether something was created by artificial intelligence or whether it was something created by a human being. Some of those detectors are really good. Some of those detectors are not so good. I used one by writing.com not too long ago, and it came back that there was a 98% chance that it was written by a human being, but it was something that I had asked AI to generate. And the AI generated the entire thing. I didn't write one word of it. I asked AI to provide me with a answer to this question. It did. I then put it through the detector and it said, oh, it's only a 2% chance that was done by AI, which actually it should have been 100% chance. So the detectors are not great, some of them, but they are getting better with each passing day. So AI is something good for brainstorming, but should not be used for actually writing assignments. So the rest of the syllabus, I'll let you read through on your own. It's kind of that boilerplate information that you get in most of your syllabi. So that, in a very large nutshell, is the syllabus for the course and what we're going to be covering and when we're going to be covering it. Any questions at this time on the syllabus or any of the course requirements? My approach is usually be as straightforward as possible in the syllabus and the course. I don't pull any punches. I don't try and throw any curveballs to you. The course is what it is. And so I try and be as objective and straightforward with everything. So you know what you're getting into when the course begins. Let me stop this share and let me go ahead and, if I can, unless I got logged out, share the Canvas site, which of course it's not here anymore. So let me just share my screen, share my desktop, and then I will go into our Canvas site. So let me move some things around. Things get in the way sometimes. All right. Hopefully you're able to see our Canvas site. Like I said, it's been up and running for a few weeks now, so I hope you had a chance to kind of do your own tour of it. Under the announcements, that's where I have our links for each of our sessions. So the link you use today is different than the link that you'll then be using for our Monday sessions. So we have a different link for all of our Monday sessions. You can access it right there. The new and improved syllabus is then provided for you on that tab. In our modules, this is where I have everything listed for the course, everything you need to be successful, the syllabus repeated again there. Then for our first week's discussion on Monday, you have the slides that we will be using. And then you have Canvas essay number 1, and that's due on May 13th. And so for that one, what you're going to do is you're going to just introduce us all to the organization that you'll be using for your organizational analysis paper. Please identify and discuss the organization you plan on examining for your organizational analysis and Canvas postings. In discussing your organization, please do the following: identify the organization and then provide an indication of the primary purpose and major functions of the organization. Again, you can use your organization, but if you're not comfortable doing that, you can use any organization that you are familiar with. So that's your first Canvas essay. And let me just go ahead and take you through each of them and show you what you're going to be doing for each Canvas essay. Then for Canvas essay number 2, which is due the following week, select one public and one or nonprofit and one private sector organization to use as the basis. And then identify and discuss 2 similarities between the organizations and 2 differences between the organizations. So kind of similar to one of the prompts that you had back in 500. Then discussion number 3, gotta move some stuff again. Discussion number 3, as it loads. Using the organization identified in Canvas essay number 1, please answer the following. Identify and discuss 2 elements of the organization that reflect Weber, and then 2 elements of the organization that reflect Taylor's scientific management. So you kind of get the sense here of exactly what we're doing. And the whole purpose here is to help you build the different parts of your organizational analysis paper. Then for Canvas essay number 4, identify and discuss how Follett's theories are embodied within your organization. I have provided a couple of readings on Follett to make up for the fact that it was removed from the classics textbook. But I will talk to you a lot of details in Follett beyond just what we talked about in the 500 course. If you don't see any of Follett in your organization, identify and discuss 2 ways that you think Follett's theories may be helpful to the organization. Identify and discuss which of McGregor's theories, X or Y, is utilized by your organization, providing specific examples. And then your 5th and final Canvas essay will be, as soon as it loads, use the organization you've chosen for your organizational analysis paper. Please answer the following question. What type of system does your organization represent and why? And please provide examples to support your answer. So this will help you build your systems part of the organizational analysis paper. So those are your 5 discussion board posts, your Canvas essays. So you've got all your slides, your Canvas essays. Here in module 3, when we get into neoclassical theories and start talking about human relations and human resource management, this is where I try and make up for the fact that Follett and Barnard are not as represented in the classics text as they used to be. So I've got a couple of documents on there for you to read about Follett's theories, and then a document for you to read about Chester Barnard and his contributions to the study of organization theory, to kind of make up for what's now missing in the current version of the classics text. Week 4, your system slides in Canvas essay number 4. Week 5, those modern theories and like group dynamics and leadership and all those good things. And then Canvas essay number 5 as well. Then in module 6, where you can submit your slides that you're using for your presentation, where you'll then be submitting your organizational analysis paper. And then eventually, whenever I get the final assessment up there within a couple of weeks, that will then pop up, and that's where your final assessment will be. Down here, this is my view. So those are all recordings from the last cohort. You won't have access to those. But this is a document here, engaging an audience. I hope it still works. Yes, it does. Look at that. It's always nice when links still work and are not broken. This is just a basic document to give you 6 easy ways that you can engage your audience doing a presentation, just to give you some tips and tricks as you prepare for your presentation on how you can better engage your audience. So that is our Canvas site. Again, I try and keep it as bare bones as possible, but provide you with all the documents and all the resources you need to be successful in the course. So if you haven't taken a quick tour of the Canvas site yet, feel free to do that in your leisure time. So you'll be able to hit the ground running when we have our first session then at 6 o'clock on Monday. Questions about the Canvas site, questions about anything regarding the class, what we're doing, when we're doing it, any questions at all? Okay. We actually got through this a little bit quicker than I thought we would, so I promised you to be out at 10:30, but it looks like you're going to actually be out at 10 o'clock. So I'll give you even more of your Saturday back. Again, we'll be back at it again 6 o'clock on Monday. As you look over the syllabus in the course, any questions emerge over the weekend, feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you again on Monday at 6 o'clock, where we'll start talking about Introduction to Organization Theory, and I'll take you through those 3 different ways in which Tompkins is going to use in order to compare those theories to each other. All right. Have a wonderful May the 4th, and I will talk to you again on Monday at 6 o'clock. So take care, everyone. Have a great
Dr.
weekend.
Powell.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Dr. Powell,
Yes.
I had a question for you.